All right, we're going to go on to a little bit more of an up-tempo song this morning called God You Are, and get your blood rolling just a little.
Every mountain, God you are. Every ocean, God you are. Every canyon, every inch of earth and sky, God you are. Every morning, God you are. Every midnight, God you are. Every moment, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am, it's you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know, it's you. God you are, every sunrise, God you are. Every moon God you are. Every star shine, every inch of earth and sky, God you are. Every springtime, God you are. Every snowfall, God you are. Every season, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am, it's you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know, it's you. Because you are the very breath I breathe. Let your perfect love create me. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am, it's you.
everyone, and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, where our mission is transforming lives and inspiring others to make a positive difference in the world. My name is Karen Dunmore, and I am your platform assistant this morning. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones, and before you do, check in online and tell the world you are here, and let them know that they can tune into Unity Spiritual Center live online. We want to begin our time together by sharing our opening affirmation. I will say it once and then ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together? There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. This is Unity's foundation principle: one presence, one power, one life, living through and as each one of us. This morning we will hear from Dr. Gary, who will be sharing the Sunday message entitled Above or Below the Line, and Reverend Jane, who will be leading the meditation. We are being blessed musically this morning by our fabulous Unity Choir. And now we will stand and sing our community song.
All right, if you can, that'd be great. Stand up. We're going to sing Swing Wide the Door.
Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let it light. Bring it on for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart and mind. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let it light. Bring it on for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart and mind. I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. I understand now what I'm here for, and what this life's all about. When it's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smile. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand, lending a hand. So swing wide the doors when the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring it on for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart and mind. There's a voice that I've heard for years. I'm trying to shake it inside. But now it's coming loud and clear. I'm on a deeper dive. That's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. Yes, it's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand, lending a hand. So swing wide the doors and the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let it light. Bring it on for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart and mind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. We'll swing wide the doors of my
Somebody's here to do announcements. I can fake it.
I'll do it. Bring on the announcements. Guess what? After church today, everyone who's not a member, go into the chapel and get memorized. I'm just joking. Now, if you're interested in the membership in Unity, we have 2 phases. The first phase is community member phase, and it's just a half-hour little session with me, and I'll tell you all about community membership, and that'll be it. Next announcement. Mats of Love. The kids are coming together to do the mats, and they need help on March 24th from 12:30 after church to 2 p.m. And it's a family kind of thing. So even the kids can participate, and if they're a certain age, and we need help for that. And the mats go to the homeless. And we have a blood drive on next Sunday. Also, David needs 15 more people to sign up. And he'll be at the desk after service today to get your blood commitment. Your bloody commitment. Okay. Next is the next Sunday is not next Sunday. I know. I'm gonna get it.
2 weeks is the 31st.
Yeah, 2 weeks is the 31st, and so on March 31st will be the Linger Longer potluck, and we're gonna have special music. And so, Dr. Jane, will you come up and talk about our special person who's coming?
So Joshua Anacio, I think that's how you say his name. Gary and I met him during Unity's convention last year. And he had a booth where you could go by and get a little 10-minute sound healing session with him. And there was a lineup at his booth a mile long. Everybody that was there took turns doing it. And it was wonderful. He has all these gongs and I forget what all he has, but anyway, tuning things, and he gets you all tuned up. And I said to him, if you're ever in Spokane, coming out to Spokane way, let us know. So he is, and he did, and he'll be here. So he'll be doing some of the music during the Sunday service, and then afterwards he has a workshop, a sound healing workshop. So you can go to the potluck, and then the workshop will start right after that. He also is doing private sessions on Monday, April 1st, no joke. And so you can sign up for those as well. And the sign-ups are on the table next to the fireside room underneath the community bulletin board. So please go ahead and sign up for either of those events if you're interested. And then, Sean, take it away, Sean.
Okay, my announcement's real short because I got a promotional video, but I am here to tell you that our Broadway on Bernard show, 5th year running here, guys, is coming up here on April 12th through the 14th. We're doing early bird tickets. That was $15 and $20 through the end of March. So starting April 1st, they're going to go up by $5. That's what my big pitch is about, is to get you to try to buy tickets early. And that said, if they can get this thing to rewind.
And also we have tickets that can be bought online if you go to the Unity website.
so we have, this is a community update right now. And for our community update this time, we're going to be handing out our certificates, both community member and governing member certificates. We'll start with the governing members. So Jennifer Nichols, would you like to come up here? Jennifer Arney's not here today. John Britton, John and Frida Morgenstern. Jason Ware. Jason's not here today. Okay, Jason Ware is a community member, and he's not here today. Another community member is Peach Chen. Is Peach, are you here today? No. Kimberly Frachita? No, Kimberly's not here. Christine Lingel, and Pat Shimori. All right, we'll mail those out to them. So we just want to appreciate and acknowledge and welcome our community members and governing members. All right, thank you.
Please join me for a moment of prayer and meditation. I invite you to sit back in your seat and just let go of anything you have on your mind or on your heart this morning. We just set it aside gently for now as we become present to this time and space and place. And I invite all of us as we go into this time of meditation to hold in our hearts all those who have been affected by the shooting in New Zealand. We just place in the center of our sanctuary all those who are in need of our prayer support. If you have anyone in your life that you would like prayer for, just invite you to quietly speak their names. And so we begin by focusing on our breath and following the breath in and out. Don't try to control it or change it. Just observe. And as you do, let it anchor you deeper and deeper into the now. And as we do, we open our hearts, we open our minds to the deep truth of who we are. We open to the reality that lives within us. And we bring into our mind's eye someone or something that can activate a feeling of appreciation. As our hearts open in gratitude to the one presence, the one power, the one life that indwells us, that never leaves, that is just awaiting our recognition. And we let this feeling of appreciation just grow and expand and warm our hearts and fill our bodies with this joyous vibration. And we let it wash over us and bless every cell of our body with life and health. And we let it emanate from within us as we create an energetic field of harmony and peace and safety and compassion, kindness. And it saturates this sacred sanctuary. And we send it forth to bless our world in the silence. God is our source, the source of all healing, prosperity, health, harmony in relationships. Within our very hearts, the truth of who we are lives. And for this joyous truth, we give grateful thanks. And so it is. Amen.
Everywhere I look, I see God in everything. Deep inside and all around me, God in everything. Mountain, valley, lake and stream, God in everything. All creation, beautiful and free, God in everything, God in everything, God's in
Just think of this as a TED Talk. Everybody see it? Yeah? Yes. Okay. All right, so this talk is called Above the Line or Below the Line. It's either or kind of talk. So you can be on one above or below the line in this talk. And so I just want to give you a sense of where this is coming from. Jane and I are studying a book. Come on, book. Okay, hang on a second. Here it is. Before we do that, what's going on? Is this me or you? I was just on. You just kicked it back to me. Okay, hang on a second. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I'm kicked off. Here we go. Hang on a second. What's the code? Tell me. 1617. 1617.
Once again, that's 1617.
1617. That's not it. Says the code is incorrect. Okay. 9172. Thank you. It doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work. Okay. All right, I'm supposed to do it this way. So I want you to think about where you are, above the line or below the line. Now, I want you to I'm going to ask you in just a moment where you are, okay? And so before I do, I just want you to check in, and I want you to notice if you're experiencing any kind of anticipation or stress around what's the right answer. Yeah, you can feel that? And so can you go to the next little subtle thing that's kind of below that, and that is, can you feel the part of you that wants to be right? Can you feel that part of it? And then underneath that, there could be a part of you that needs to be right. Yeah. Have you ever needed to be right before?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want you to just be aware that that's a part of any kind of dynamic where we're in a conundrum to be either on this side of things or that side of things, above the line or below the line. Now, you don't know what the line means yet, but I'm wanting to presence that's a dynamic that we bring to what's going on in our present moment. Bless you. What I wanted to say that the slides didn't convey is that I've been doing a series of talk on meditation, and I've been promoting a kind of meditation approach that helps us focus on how we're having our life and how we're being with what's going on as a way of waking up. So if we can understand that how we're being with what we're having has an effect on what's going on in our life, then we can be in the intention to be with what we're having out of a place in us that can be empowered by our being with what is happening in our life as opposed to diminished by it. And so if we can be in a practice that enables us to step out of an unconscious way of being with what we're having to a conscious way of being with what we're having, so that we can apply a practice or an intentionality that helps us transcend our conditioned ways of being, then that's what we're talking about, is an intentional practice that we can walk around in our daily life and go, oh, okay, I'm noticing now that I'm pushing this experience away. I'm separating through my need to be right, or my having to have things be a certain way. And so once we become conscious of how we're creating some of the dis-ease in our life or the distress in our life, then we can begin to use our attention awareness and our meaning making in ways that support our overcoming our self-imposed limitations. So that's in a sense of what this is about. All right, so in Unity, we do not use guilt. Like in traditional Christian churches, it's possible that the pastor will use guilt to get you to perform. In Unity, we use performance anxiety. And so you don't want to get this wrong. Okay, so how many of you are above the line? Raise your hand. Okay, and how many of you are below the line? Raise your hand. There's no room? Oh, there's more room here for you. Okay. All right, so let's start defining what this might mean. And this comes from a body of work, that if I had the slide, you'd have the slide. And the book is called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leaders. And leaders or leadership? Okay. And so it pertains to anyone who wants to be conscious, whether or not you're in leadership or not. This is relevant. And it helps for us to kind of understand that this training that this concept that I'm sharing with you now is used in the corporate America to help companies kind of overcome their own self-imposed limitations. But let's just say that if we're above the line, let's just say we're open. And so if this is either or, what does below the line mean? Closed, okay. You're getting the hang of it. Okay, so what if a below the line behavior is, like, say, needing to be right? If a below the line behavior is needing to be right, what would be above the line behavior? Being married? Okay, for the online viewing audience, the antidote to needing to be right is being married. This came from the congregation. So I'm going to suggest that one way to look at how to kind of get the feel of above or below the line is above the line is your needing to be right doesn't make me wrong. Can you get the feeling? Okay, this is where we're going. Okay, so where would a person who sources their well-being or their worth be if they're sourcing their well-being or worth outside of themselves? Where would they be? Below the line. And so most people, most of the time, source their well-being or their worth in the outer experience. And therefore, when we source it out there, then we're forced to have things be a certain way in order to get the kind of feeling we want out of our life experience. But if we source our well-being and source our discomfort within ourselves, then we have all the power. And now we recognize if we're above the line, we have to do something with that discomfort. We have to do that. We have to understand where that comes from. It doesn't live in the outer experience, while the triggering moment does. When I'm triggered, I have to recognize what is arising within me is coming from my conditioned self, my unconscious self, the part of me that's living below the line, you see. And so what happens if we're in the... Have you ever experienced this? Controlling? Anybody? Okay, what's above the blind behavior? Right, just opening up to the field of infinite possibilities. Get the feel of above the line. And so as we begin to understand that these dynamics, then we can begin to kind of get a sense of what we need to be paying attention to. So where is our sense of not enough? Below the line, right? And what happens when we need to be right, when we're coming from a sense of not enough, and we attach that to something that's happening in our life? What ends up being created as a part of our own internal state? It's called a story. Have you ever done a story before? And if you listen to the stories that kind of operate inside of you, then we tend to become kind of compoundedly modulated to the baggage that we are kind of struggling to overcome. And so the point I'm wanting to make is that conscious leaders, conscious individuals, know their location, above the line or below the line. And it means that when we recognize, oh, I'm below the line, then we have to do something, otherwise we create stuff. Carmageddon happens because we say and do things that create hurt or sadness, or we experience fear and anxiety, or we are emotionally altered in a way, and then our self-system begins to use that information, that experiences, and attaches it to a sense of needing to control, having to have things be a certain way, or looking for value and affirmation outside of oneself, trying to get our needs met by trying to manipulate or control what's happening in our life experience. But if we know that above the line, instead of needing to be right, we're curious, that we make a commitment to understanding rather than a commitment to needing to be right. I had a video that I would love to show. Please be fixed. And I think I'll get Lisa to post it on the Constant Contact. And so if you're not on the Constant Contact mailing list, you need to subscribe. So anyway, that's an important part. But the video basically describes, in order to wake up, we must know a couple of things. First of all, we need to know whether or not we're above or below the line, and that if we find ourselves below the line, we have to shift into an intentionality, into a thought process, into authentic action that lifts us out of the depths of what our experience is. And so one of the principles of the concept of being above or below the line is that when we're below the line, we are living as if life happens to us, instead of living as if life happens by us. When we're below the line, we're in victim consciousness. When we're above the line, we're in ownership consciousness. We own what gets created out of our shadow, out of our sense that we're not enough. We own what gets created when we are living in the disconnect, when we're functioning below the line. There's also a wonderful graphic and display of the whole dynamic, all of the dynamics of both above the line and below the line thinking and action. One of the important principles is that we're hardwired, our brain is hardwired to function below the line. In other words, our negativity bias keeps us focused on looking out at life as if it's insufficient. And so, consequently, below the line living engenders certain habits of being and habits of how we have our life. Primarily, there are three: the habit of judgment, the habit of struggle, and the habit of scarcity. And if you have any of those things in your life, if things are hard to have in terms of really nurturing and serving your spirit, if you're focused and distracted by what's going on out there in the world, and you have a degree of judgment, and that's kind of generating all kinds of stories in your head, and if you're having a sense of not enough in any aspect of your life, you're living unconsciously in below the line. And as Dr. Joe has stated, that most of us, 95% of our behavior comes from a dimension of ourself that has been conditioned or trained. Consequently, 95% of the time, we're below the line. And if we don't have a practice that helps us, oh, I'm below the line, what's up with that? I have to now move into a different place if I'm to be in integrity with my intent to live nonviolently in this world, as well as to be an agent or an avenue or an instrument of the transition team on this planet that is here to make a difference, if I want to be a part of that, I have to train myself to get above the line. I have to teach my body how it feels to live above the line, because I'm conditioned to go here whenever I'm stressed. I'm conditioned to go here whenever I feel not enough. And I'm conditioned to resolve the issues of my life with the circuits that are all below the line. And so some of the above the line practices require of us to kind of reconcile what we're still carrying with us that is in our way. And so one way to kind of get in touch with what might be an element of that we have to address if we were to make it above the line is to recognize that if we have any regrets. Anybody have any regrets in your life? And so I can see that my below the line parenting has impacted my son and daughter. And I can see how their adult lives have also kind of, I have helped train them to live below the line. And as I witness and I see this principle, I can feel a sense of sadness for not being able to parent in a different way. At the age of 36, I was too young to be a parent of a 9-year-old. You know, I was too young to be a parent of a 21-year-old. He's 50. I'm too young to be a parent of a 40-year-old at age 69. You know, and so all of us need to kind of come to grips with, we have created out of dimensions of ourselves that have caused a way of being that is not the truth of us. It's as if we've all kind of been raised in an environment. Imagine growing up in a house that had 5-foot ceilings. You know, this is just what you learn, it's what you know, you don't know any different. But then you discover, oh, the ceiling is just a structure, it's just a conditioned part of my experience right now. But there's this other dimension where there's no limits. And so I can step up there and I can feel that, but everything in me wants to do this. That's why spiritual practice is so difficult. We have trained ourselves to be contorted in the context of how we're having our life, instead of training ourselves to be present to who we've come here to be and begin to entrain the world that we're having to that dimension of ourself that is going to have this for us. Up here, everything's for us. And everything that we have, we use as our abundance, as opposed to something that's against us. And so for me, as I look at my relationship with my regrets, with my daughter specifically, and see that my below-the-line behavior I've trained my daughter to believe that her dad will never protect her through my behaviors. I've trained my daughter how to not trust or count on her dad. I've trained her to have that experience, and she has all the evidence in the world to live in that conditioned experience because of my below-the-line behavior. Now, this is many years ago, and we're still estranged. But what I'm wanting to share is that when we authentically get to a place where we would hunger for the opportunity to have done something different. If we can just speak into that moment of what we would have done differently, as if I could do a redo. And I can see very precisely the moment that I trained my daughter to believe that about her dad. And I can hear the words that I spoke to her still. And as I hunger for a way in which, if I could re-speak those words out of what I know now, what would be the words that I would speak to her? What could she hear from her father that would be different than what she's heard all these years? Yeah. And so while it's important for all of us to recognize that, yeah, we screw up in our life, we make mistakes, but how do we be with that energy? How do we translate that into something that we can use as a means of really opening ourselves to a greater expression of above-the-line behavior? And so I had to go back to Gary when he was 36 years old, and I had to behold him as a scared, frightened young man who doesn't know how to be with kids that he's left because of his failed marriages. I had to have compassion for that man who didn't know. I know. Now I know. But there's a part of me that still has to hear that. And if we don't give ourselves that voice, we look for it in other ways, but never to find it, because it's not speaking to us. It's not calling, it's not soothing the voice that we long to hear. And I spoke to my daughter in a way that it just melted something in my heart. A part of me was freed from the need to use that story anymore to remind me that I'm not enough of a dad, or I'm not enough of a father. I don't feel that way anymore because I see what has happened. I see why. I see how it could take place. And when we don't know, and then when we find out, it has to transform us if it's really to matter and make a difference. And so as I see the world as below the line. The churches that I work with that are in conflict, that are in trouble, they're all below the line. But yet everybody in those arenas are a part of our, is energetically up here. Everybody's one. You know, we're all in this together. We don't have any behaviors that is all about separation or polarization or blame. We can't afford that anymore. We have to move above the line if we're to manage what's up. So I really wish I had that video. But I'm going to get over it. You know, the first service I was trying to figure out how I was going to talk about my daughter, and I sort of went off in this weird place, and didn't feel comfortable. So I kind of got to a place where, okay, I can share it this way, and then the stuff didn't work. So anyway, all right. So I really want you to see that video.
You'll be back next week.
I won't be back next week. I'm going to be showing the video to somebody else. All right. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do is I have a slide here. Hang on a second. I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to tell you the spiritual practice that I was wanting you to hear. So this is important. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, hang on a second. No. Yeah, hang on a second. Oh, can't see. It's not. Okay, hang on a second. I'm going to go here. Okay. Yeah, I know. That's what we need in this church. We need more geeks. Okay, here it is. Okay, so here's my spirit group thing. Normally it'd be up there and I'm telling you how to put this into practice. And you'd have a real clear sense of much more above and below the line. And you'd have a clear sense that when our amygdala is triggered, we're below the line. Bless you. Okay, so what behaviors, attitudes, and ways of being are you that you notice about yourself that are below the line? That's the first thing. It's an awareness question. So some of you who are involved in 12 steps are used to doing a personal inventory. It's something like that, except that it's really looking at just the principle. Am I closed? Am I reactive? Am I making somebody the matter with me? You know, so those are the kinds of things I want you to kind of notice and acknowledge. And then as you reflect upon your life, what relationships have been impacted by your being below the line? And wouldn't you want to kind of notice that had you not been below the line, something else could have happened? And what are you going to do about that? What might change in your life if you're able to be routinely above the line? And then finally, what helps you to realize that you're relating to your experience from below the line? In other words, you have to have something that is a cue, something that says, oh, I'm below the line right now. It could be whenever you feel a negative emotion that can remind you, oh, I'm below the line. What's behind this feeling? What must I believe about myself for me to feel this? You know you're below the line when you wake up and you hear a story. Okay, well, so that story, that is the commentary that often tends to kind of inform how we should feel, and therefore how we should think. And so we think the way we feel, and then we feel the way we think. And when we notice that that's what's going on, we have to say, oh, that's below the line mind. Because the one who's listening to that is our true self, and our attention is either focused on making this matter or making this matter. So we just have to decide which. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gary. Amazing that you can still do a talk without all the notes and the video and everything. Very impressed. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, the many paths to God, for we know that there is only one power, one presence, one life. So whoever you are, and wherever you are on your journey of transformation, you are welcome here. We would especially like to welcome anyone who's here for the first time. If this is your first time here and you feel comfortable raising your hand, our ushers have a gift packet for you. So, is there anyone here who's here for the first time? Welcome. Okay, and no one over here? Okay, on the outside of the packet, there's a form you can fill out to be added to our mailing list for our e-newsletter and our quarterly newsletter. If you are interested, please fill out the form and drop it in the love offering basket or leave it at the welcome desk out in the atrium. Also, after the service, you can take the packet to our barista stand and get a free beverage of your choice. And you can take it to the bookstore and also get a free CD of today's service. If you have any questions, you can ask any of the members of our welcome team. They are the ones wearing these yellow scarves, and it looks like I might be the only one. So if you did not fill out a name tag before service and would like one, you will find one in the seat pocket in front of you. We are really glad you're here. We would also like to welcome our online viewers. Thank you for joining us this morning. Now is the time to welcome and greet each other with a handshake, a hug, a namaste, whatever works for you. Before you do that, let's begin with our welcome song.
All right, please stand if you can. We're going to sing the gathering song.
to love. We are gathering in song, opening the heavens, opening the world, singing pride. We are walking into light, starting out together, turning the miracles inside. We are gathering in song, opening the heavens, opening the world, singing pride. We are walking into light, starting out together, turning the miracles inside. We are gathering, we're behind the doors of spirit lives. We're walking into light. We're journeying through the miracles inside.
Got it the second time. Good morning. My name is Jim Sledge. I have the privilege of being the treasurer on your board of trustees. And this is the time in our service where we welcome and appreciate your financial contributions to this amazing place called Unity Spiritual Center. And where else do we hear great messages like we got from Dr. Gary and Broadway on Bernard? Pretty amazing place to put all that together, huh? So Gary spoke about the consciousness of ownership, and I'd like us to take that thought into our hearts and minds as we keep our financials above the line. How was that for a segue? Thanks, Gary. So let's take that into our thoughts as we say our prosperity blessing together. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share, and so it is.
So we're pleased to share this song with you this morning that we've been working on all winter long because it's a song about spring. It is absolutely the most difficult choral arrangement that we've done this year, and you will hear those harmonies. It is a very beautiful song with really cool words. So listen carefully about fig trees and things like that. And this is called Come Away.
Arise, my love, my
We give thanks for these gifts as we send them forth to bless the world. We are blessed as a congregation here for all that we receive. The beautiful music this morning, Song of Spring, message, and everything that everyone brings to the table. This is our way of demonstrating our mission statement, transforming lives and making a positive difference in the world. Thank you. So, as we are giving thanks for the gifts we are receiving at Unity Spiritual Center, we want to take the time to thank all those who are in service in our ministry. Today we are saying a special thank you to our chaplains. Would everyone who is part of the chaplain team please stand and be acknowledged? And thanks. We are very grateful for your service. And our chaplains today are Al and Amber. Al has been holding the service, is that correct? Charles. Charles has been holding the entire service in prayer, which one of our chaplains does every service. If you have anything that is heavy on your heart or any celebration that you would like to share, you can pray with one of our chaplains and they will hold it in prayer with you. They'll be at the front of the sanctuary right after the service. Thank you for your service today. You can also fill out a prayer request form found in the seat pocket in front of you and put it in one of our prayer boxes. There's one at the front of the sanctuary and one in the atrium. Our prayer team will pray with you for 7 days, and then the prayers will be sent on to Silent Unity to be prayed over for 30 days. And if you know of someone who is in the hospital and has requested a visit from one of our chaplains, please fill in the visitation request form, which is also in your seat, in the seat back pockets, and place it in the prayer box. So, I think we have some people out there that are waiting to come in. So the children for all of our young people here at Unity Spiritual Center. Let's take a moment to bless our children, youth, and all those in service to our youth ministry. Be the love you are, sing the song you hear, share the joy of life with people far and near. And for ourselves, be the love we are, sing the song we hear, share our joy of life with people far and near. Now will you find the people that you came with? Looks like everybody's... Please stand as you are able and join together for our closing prayer, followed by the peace song. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and that's the truth.
Thanks, Charlie. So 12:30 in the chapel for above the line membership orientation.